Hey guys, Mitch here, Mitch Tasker Lawn Care. Just wanted to make a part 2 video to the differences, I suppose, between North American and Australian lawn care companies and businesses and the way they run. The first one, part 1, was sort of about the price differences in what we pay and what we charge, what we pay for equipment. The second part is, what is it again? The second part is about the clientele that we have and that we get. I think in Australia, the main people that want to get their lawns done are basically people who are physically incapable of doing the work by themselves. And the second, the other lot are the people who are in well-paid jobs, who are extremely busy and time poor and don't have time to do it themselves. So then they engage a lawn care company. They're the two main things. I think the other thing that I've spoken about in other videos too is real estate. So that's where a lot of our work comes from year round. So with that being said, there's a couple of ways that it impacts on your business. I think the biggest one that I've noticed is that people tend to not care as much about their lawn, even though they're employing a professional to do it. They don't want it cut often, if you know what I mean. Like if I always have clients, and everyone I speak to is the same. They always want their lawn generally cut as least amount as possible. So that can, they'll sort of tell you if you're cutting it too much, or if they're on a 3-week schedule, they're always looking to extend that out to 4, 5, whatever weeks. Now, through the summer, we had a really good summer this season. It was relatively damp but not too hot, so the growing conditions were really good. I was extremely busy, and we don't have weeklies. There might be weekly sort of jobs that you do. For me, for example, might be cleaning a pool. I've got a complex that I look after where I clean the pool, and that's a couple of times a week. That is not very common, apart from people who are cleaning pools and things like that as part of their deal when looking after complexes. The most frequently I cut a lawn was every 2 weeks, and in some cases it definitely needed doing more than 2 weeks. I had a few jobs there where they're all in one area, and it's just sort of old farming land, very fertile ground, wet all the time, and so the grass grows phenomenally fast. And they're not big, they're not small jobs either. They're quite big, so they're pretty cumbersome. They're hard on the equipment because of the dampness of the grass and the thickness and the length of the grass when you're cutting it, and that's cutting it every 2 weeks. And they're the first ones to tell you when it doesn't need cutting, generally. So in North America, obviously everyone's looking for weekly accounts, and then I know that Jeremy, he said the other week that he was on I think 87 weekly accounts, and that's pumping out some lawns every week. And obviously you need help when you got that many. And whereas me, a huge week for me might be, I might knock out 70 lawns, or roughly, but I've got 180 accounts now. If I didn't have 180 accounts, obviously I wouldn't be as busy. So in Australia, we need to have a shitload more clients to make it worthwhile to run your business and make it profitable, because of that fact that we don't have weekly accounts. We don't have people that want their lawn cut weekly. As I said, I think there's a few determining factors, and I don't think it's just something it's like this all throughout Australia. So I think first of all, it's a little bit of a personality trait typical of Australians, and it's also could be our growing conditions a little bit, and the type of grass I think is a big part of it. So in Australia, generally in southeastern Australia and eastern Australia where I'm from, kikuyu is a dominant grass, and then the further north you go it turns to buffalo, and then further south you go it's like a couch or a Bermuda type of grass. So where I'm at, it's generally a wet, not a wet climate, but definitely not a dry climate. It's really good growing conditions, 8 months of the year, 9 months of the year even. But our grasses generally can be cut fairly short, so most it's rare to cut something over 2 inches. If it's in normal conditions, if it's extra long, then we're cutting it. I wouldn't cut it that short. And people are always asking to get it cut shorter, so they nearly want it scalped every time. The shorter the better most of the time is the feedback that I get. I'm tending to, especially as it's cooling down, to lift the decks a little bit and cut the grass a little bit longer. Not for any reason, but the grass is we did just get a heap of rain, so it has starting to go a little bit again, but is virtually dormant, but still grows really slowly. But if you cut it too short, obviously it goes yellow, and not from scalping, that's just the color, the discoloration of the dormant grass. I'm sure you've all seen dormant grass go yellow, so that's what happens. And so I'm keeping them a little bit longer than normal. Maybe if I'm cutting it on the second notch, I'll knock it up to the third notch or whatever, and just to help not knock the grass around as much and keep it a little bit greener, so it's looking nice. So that's what I've found, is the big differences between numbers of clients and that sort of thing. So I think in Australia, when I say I've got 180 clients, North Americans probably freak and go, "Well, that's huge. That's a massive business." It's not a huge deal. I'm probably only cutting, when it's going, 60 lawns a week to 70 lawns a week, and then putting a day of garden work and stuff in there. So, totally different. And as I said, I've probably only less than a quarter of my clients will be every 2 weeks. So, the rest of them are 3 and 4 week schedules, even when it's growing as hard as it can now. I know all the reactions I'm going to get are going to be like, "Well, I wouldn't let my clients leave it that long," and blah blah blah. It's not like I get back to lawns and they're a foot long or anything like that. Like, it might be, I might cut it at 1.5 inches or 2 inches, and I get there and it might be 4 inches or something like that. Like, it's not out of hand. Obviously there's thicker lawns and there's stuff where it does clump a little bit, but it's just, as I said, you can't. You're just dealing with a different clientele, and it's hard. It doesn't work that way in Australia. I'd love to be able to say, I'm cutting it every week, whether you like it or not. Well, they'll just say, "Well, no, I can't afford that," straight up. Like, they don't care, or they don't want to cut, or they'll use someone else. It's not something that needs doing. And yeah, like I said before, the grasses probably have something to do with it as well. But yeah, that's just the difference. I really think it's more of a personality trait difference between the two, Australia versus North America in that sense. I've heard some people say that, they'll have clients that are happy to pay for it to be cut every 2 or 3 days, or every 3 or 4 days, just to make sure it looks good. If it's, as long as it's looking good, they're happy. So I've never had someone say that, I want it cut 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, whether it needs cutting or not. It's always the opposite. It's always like, "Oh, you reckon you leave it another week next time," or whatever. And I'm pretty easy going. Like, I've always got some work I can be doing, so it's not, I don't mind it. And I think that's where the gardening side of the business is really fills your time. I mean, I obviously I'd rather be cutting lawns all day. It's much easier on you, much easier on your body, and easier work, and there's probably more money in it. You know, if you've got the right scheduling and stuff, just to be cutting lawns every day. But that doesn't, you know, as I said, in Australia it doesn't fly. I was mowing 4 days a week and doing gardening 1 day a week. So with a helper 3 of those days. So that was how my summer went. And as I said, that was growing conditions at its best. So couldn't have asked for a better season. And it was pretty dry up until a couple of weeks ago, and we've had a good bit of rain in the last couple of weeks, and everything's gone again. So I was actually just started rescheduling a little bit and bringing things back in. I'd extended stuff out to 5 and 6 weeks, and there's 5 weekers I brought back to 3 weeks, and on a few of them. So it doesn't quite have the thickness it does in full growing season, but the growth is there through generally the lawn. But it's yeah, just a little bit different. The grass is just not quite as thick as what it normally is in the summer. So, but it's still nice and warm. Like as you see, I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt. You can see the leaves on that tree there. They're yellowing off, and all that's pretty orange. They're like reddy orange colour. They look really nice at the moment, actually. Yeah, it's autumn here at the moment. So, but I think it's like 20 something degrees at the moment. So 20, maybe 21, 22 degrees. It's beautiful. It's a good time of year. Great time of year, actually. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about, guys. That's sort of like a 2-part video on equipment versus price, and then this one's about the different types of personalities that you're dealing with, as far as how often they want their lawn cut and when they want their lawn cut, and why we need more clients in a business. And virtually, you know, I've got Hannah, my wife, working with me 2 days a week at the moment. That's it. So, you know, that's as far as having the amount of clients I've got. Some people are going to go, "Wow, that's a big business." Well, it's, you know, it's not a small business, that's for sure, but it's not someone where you know, I couldn't potentially do it solo, but I'll probably be working 7 days a week. So, and I don't want that, because you got family and got friends and whatever, and want to spend time with them as well. So, yeah, I'm sure you can all appreciate that, and you know, that's the main difference, and that's, you know, so when an Aussie says something that along the lines of, you know, thinking about a mower or a blower or a trimmer or something like that, it's a much bigger decision financially for us, just because of the price differences, and then the work differences as well. So, you know, it takes us longer to recoup that money and blah blah blah. So yeah, all right, guys. Sorry for the break in the middle. My GoPro is full because I've been making some videos, so I've got to get that across onto the computer and start uploading. Alright guys, peace, take it easy.